Have you ever met a man in his 70s, maybe even 80s, who still walks with purpose, eyes bright, voice steady, like his soul never got the memo that he was supposed to slow down? And then, maybe in the same week, you've seen another man, same age, same life story, who moves like the world already forgot him. His shoulders sag, his spark is gone, and it's like someone pressed pause on his spirit. Why the difference? Most would say, good genes, he exercised, he ate right. But what if I told you that's not the whole story? What if a quiet, private habit, one that men are taught to shut down after a certain age, was actually the key to keeping that fire alive? I'm talking about self-pleasure, yes, masturbation. Not the kind you see joked about in movies, not some teenage fantasy, but something sacred, restorative, scientific. Because what you've been told to ignore might be the very thing your body is begging you to bring back. This is not about shame. It's not about lust. It's not even about sex. It's about blood flow to your heart, oxygen to your brain, and the difference between aging with dignity or fading in silence. If you were born in a time where even talking about this felt wrong, I want you to know right now that silence, it was never medicine. It was never wisdom. It was a weight you didn't need to carry. And in today's video, we're going to talk about why not masturbating after 65 might not just make you feel older, it might quietly be harming your heart, your memory, and your sleep. But don't worry. This isn't about pushing anything on you. It's about showing you a different path, one that helps you reconnect, rebuild, and reignite the parts of you that never stopped working. They've just been waiting for you to return. So take a breath. Let's begin. 1. Loss of regular release equals decline in brain-heart function. Let's start with something most men were never taught. Your brain and your heart are not just connected by thoughts or emotions. They're literally connected by blood flow, hormone balance, and nervous system signals. And one of the simplest, most natural ways to support this system? Regular release. Yes, even after 65. Especially after 65. See, when a man engages in self-pleasure and slowly, mindfully, his body doesn't just produce dopamine, the pleasure hormone. It also releases oxytocin, which calms the nervous system, and nitric oxide, which helps blood vessels relax and expand. That means better blood flow to the heart, increased circulation to the brain, and more oxygen traveling to the places that matter most. Now, imagine what happens when that system gets shut down. For many older men, the decline of this practice isn't a choice. It's silent conditioning. Life gets busy. Partners pass away. Health concerns grow. And one day, you just stop. Not because you wanted to, because no one told you it mattered. But here's the truth. When regular release disappears, so does a key part of neurological and cardiovascular maintenance. Your heart doesn't pump quite as efficiently. Your blood vessels lose elasticity. Your brain gets a little foggier. You don't sleep as well. You start forgetting small things. You move slower, even if your legs are fine. And it's not just physical. The emotional effects creep in too. You start feeling invisible, not to others, to yourself, like your inner rhythm went silent. But the good news is this. It's not too late to bring that rhythm back. Men in their 70s and 80s who gently return to regular self-pleasure report noticeable improvements, more mental clarity, reduced nighttime wake-ups, even lower blood pressure. It's not magic. It's not wishful thinking. It's biology. Your body has always known this. It's just been waiting for you to listen again. And if this feels foreign, even a little uncomfortable, that's okay. Discomfort often means we're finally facing something important. So let this be your reminder. You don't need to go backward to feel young. You just need to reclaim the connection your body never stopped wanting. Shall we continue to point 2, sire? 2. Emotional starvation. When intimacy disappears, so does joy. There's something few doctors, sons, or even close friends ever ask an aging man. How often do you feel emotionally connected to your own body? It might sound like a strange question, even foolish to some. But ask a man in his late 70s who hasn't touched his own body in years, and you'll see it. The quiet look of recognition, of remembering something he didn't know he had missed. Because when physical intimacy, even solo intimacy, fades away, something else goes with it too. Joy. See, we often associate happiness in old age with grandchildren, retirement, or hobbies. But there's a quieter ingredient that almost never gets mentioned. Physical aliveness. Not just exercise or activity, but that deep personal sense of I am here, I am alive in my own skin. When that's gone, men don't just slow down. They shrink. They become functional but not fulfilled. Present but not present in themselves. What most people don't understand is that intimacy with self isn't about lust or fantasy. Not at this age. It's about comfort. It's about connection. It's about saying to your body, I still care about you. And when you lose that, it's not just about sex. It's about the quiet erosion of self-esteem, self-trust, and even emotional regulation. You become more irritable, less patient. Your smile doesn't quite reach your eyes. But here's what's powerful. When men begin restoring even a little bit of that connection, they don't just feel physical relief. They start laughing more, sleeping more deeply, feeling a flicker of joy during the day that's not tied to a task or a person, but to themselves. I once spoke with a man named Elliot, 74 years old. He told me that after his wife passed, he felt numb, not sad, just emotionally empty. He hadn't touched himself in years. He didn't think it mattered, until one day, out of pure curiosity, he decided to change that, slowly, gently, just a few minutes each week. He told me, it felt like my body was thanking me. If no one has said this to you before, let me say it now. You deserve joy, even the quiet kind, especially the quiet kind. The joy of feeling good in your own skin, of remembering that you're still capable of warmth, sensation, and emotional presence. That's not vanity, that's vitality, and it's not gone, sire, it's waiting. 3. Stagnant energy. When the body stops flowing, so does the mind. Let's shift to something that sounds physical, but is actually much deeper. Think about water. When it flows, it nourishes everything in its path. But when it sits still, untouched, uncirculated, it begins to stagnate. Now, imagine your own body as a system of energy. Blood flow, sensation, and subtle movement. When that energy isn't engaged, especially in private, personal ways, it doesn't just pause. It begins to stagnate. And that stagnation doesn't just show up in stiff knees or slower mornings. It shows up in your thinking, in your memory, in that fog that seems to settle over your days. Why? Because the same processes that support arousal also support brain health. When blood moves, it feeds the mind. When touch activates nerve endings, it sends a signal to the brain, wake up, stay alive. Many older men don't realize that arousal itself is a circulatory event, not just sexual, but cognitive, hormonal, and neurological. When you disconnect from that side of yourself, even unintentionally, your body slowly stops sending the signals that say, we're still in this. And what follows is subtle. forgetting names more often, losing motivation, not quite feeling here. But when that flow is restored, not in a rushed mechanical way, but through intentional private engagement, something starts to shift. Breathing deepens, thoughts become clearer, even posture changes. I've seen it happen over and over. A man begins to re-engage with himself, and it's as if someone turned the lights back on behind his eyes. There's a reason. Meditation, massage, yoga, and yes, mindful self-touch are all known to support brain longevity because they reconnect the body to the mind. They say, we're still home here. And when the body feels home, the mind follows. So ask yourself, when was the last time you did something kind for your own body that wasn't part of a routine, but part of a reconnection? If it's been a while, that's okay. You haven't missed your chance. You're right on time. Let's keep going. The next one goes even deeper. 4. Emotional starvation. The hidden cost of long-term disconnection. You've heard the phrase, you can't pour from an empty cup. But here's something society rarely admits. Men, especially older men, have been taught to keep pouring anyway, to show up, stay strong, stay silent, to provide, protect, push forward, but rarely to receive, rarely to refill, rarely to feel. And when you spend decades giving without reconnecting with your own emotional self, especially through private intimacy, something subtle but serious begins to happen. It's not dramatic. It doesn't crash down like a thunderstorm. It's quiet, a soft withdrawal, a growing distance between you and the world, between you and joy, between you and yourself. See, self-pleasure isn't just about the body. It's about emotional nourishment when done mindfully, without shame, without distraction, without rushing. It becomes one of the only moments where you are allowed to feel fully relaxed, fully alive, fully enough. Without it, your nervous system starts to starve emotionally. Oxytocin, the hormone that says you're safe, you're held, you belong, stops circulating as easily. And over time, that emotional emptiness becomes the new normal. You stop laughing as easily. You become irritable without knowing why. You feel lonely even in a room full of people. I once sat with a man in his late 70s. We'll call him David. He hadn't touched himself in years, not because of any physical issue, but because, in his words, it just didn't feel right anymore. When I asked him why, his eyes welled up. I think I forgot what it felt like to be loved, even by me. That broke my heart, because what David said, whether he knew it or not, was the quiet truth for so many. Somewhere along the way, they stopped receiving love from themselves. But here's the good news. Emotional connection can be restored. You don't need a partner. You don't need approval. You just need willingness to sit with yourself, breathe, explore, and ask, what do I need right now? And when you answer with touch, with patience, with reverence, your body listens, and so does your heart. This isn't about lust. It's about emotional literacy, the ability to feel, to care, to soften, and the older you get, the more your body craves it, not less. 5. The body remembers. Why sensation is the bridge back to life. As you age, your body doesn't forget how to feel. It only forgets what it hasn't been invited to feel in a long time. The truth is, your skin, your breath, your heartbeat, they're still tuned to a deep internal language, one that never depended on youth, only on presence. But here's what happens when you go too long without intentional touch, without mindful pleasure, without truly feeling your own aliveness. The signals start to fade. Not because they're gone, but because they haven't been responded to. You stop hearing your body's cues, not because it's silent, but because you've trained yourself not to listen. And yet, when you reintroduce sensation, not just friction, but warmth, texture, attention, your nervous system doesn't resist. It reawakens, like a seed that never died, just lay dormant beneath the surface, waiting for sunlight. This is where real restoration begins, with slow, curious sensation, stroking your arm and realizing it still gives you chills, brushing fingertips across your belly and feeling the breath deepen without effort, touching yourself without chasing an ending, and instead discovering a beginning. Neurologists call it neuroplasticity. Therapists call it somatic reintegration. But for the man standing in front of his bathroom mirror at 75, maybe for the first time in years, it's simply called coming home. I once heard a man, 82 years old, describe it better than any textbook ever could. "I thought I was too old to feel much," he said. "Turns out I was just too rushed to notice." You don't need a partner to feel intimacy. You don't need performance to feel power. And you certainly don't need permission to touch your own skin with respect, curiosity, and care. Because when you do, when you reclaim sensation as something sacred, not secret, you're not just improving circulation. You're rewriting a narrative, one that says, my body still matters, my touch still counts, and I am still worth feeling. 6. Slowing down isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Somewhere along the way, the world convinced us that slowing down meant giving up, that if we weren't quick, we weren't strong, that if we didn't finish fast, we were failing. But after 60, after 70, after 80, speed is no longer the goal. Presence is, and presence can only be found in slowness. This is especially true when it comes to reconnecting with your body. When you rush, you override. You miss the subtle cues. You miss the breath before the warmth, the shiver before the sigh. But when you slow down, intentionally with patience, you begin to feel again, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually. You begin to hear your body whisper, "I'm still here." Slowing down doesn't mean doing less. It means doing more deeply. It's the difference between noise and music, between motion and meaning. A man named Walter once told me that he had lived most of his life as a get-it-done kind of guy. Task-oriented, no nonsense, always moving. Even his moments of self-pleasure were squeezed between to-do lists. "I treated it like a chore," he said, "and I felt like a stranger in my own body." But when he started taking time, not just to feel, but to breathe, to notice, something shifted. It was like shaking hands with myself again. Slowness is not weakness, it's mastery. The older you are, the more you've earned the right to move on your own terms, to feel each second as sacred, to take your time because it is yours. And in that space, healing begins, awareness returns, and your body, your beautiful, aging, alive body, starts to trust you again. 7. Why it's not too late, and never was. If you've made it this far, maybe there's still a quiet voice inside you asking, but is it really worth it now? Haven't I missed the window? Let me be clear, the window never closed. It just needed you to turn around and notice it again. Too many men believe that age equals expiration, that their best years are gone, and everything that comes after is just maintenance. But that's not truth. That's conditioning. The reality is, there is life in you right now, more life than you've been led to believe. Science supports it. The nervous system is responsive at every age. Muscles remember, Hormones continue, even your skin, your breath, your blood. It all responds to kindness, to contact, to care. I once worked with a man named Eldridge who was 84 years old. He told me, "I thought I was done feeling anything like this." He'd been alone for years, stiff in his body, soft in his voice. But after beginning a gentle practice of reconnecting with himself, not for sex, not for performance, but for presence, he called me one afternoon and said something I'll never forget. "Doc, I didn't know I could still feel this awake." That's the power of starting again. You're not too late. You're right on time, because today is the only day you'll ever have to begin again. And it doesn't require perfection, just permission, from you to you. So the next time you look in the mirror and wonder what's left, remember, everything is still here. You just have to reach in gently and say yes.